Hey, and welcome to QSE Academy. In this series of videos, I will try to walk you through all the new requirements of the ISO 17025-2017 version, and we will see together the main changes in the new revision of the ISO 17025-2017. General requirements for the competence of testing and calibration laboratories. Let's start with Chapter 4, General Requirements. Impartiality 4.1. The definition in ISO IEC 17025-2017 is presence of objectivity and is further clarified in a note saying objectivity means that conflicts of interest do not exist or are resolved so as not to adversely influence subsequent activities of the laboratory. In the context of testing or calibration laboratories, lab results cannot be influenced or have the appearance of being influenced by any relationships the laboratory or the people involved in laboratory activities may have with a client. Laboratory activities also cannot be influenced by any undue pressure being put on the people involved in conducting those laboratory activities. In order to safeguard impartiality, laboratories shall establish structure, mitigate pressures, identify and manage risks on an ongoing basis. Risks may come from its activities, its relationship, the relationship of its personnel. The labs should also demonstrate how to minimize or eliminate risks. It is recommended to write down a document in which, depending on the needs, the following steps should be included. Analysis of potential impartiality risks, including risks arising from the laboratory activities, its relationships, and the relationships of its personnel. Measures to eliminate or minimize risks concerning impartiality. Action plan. Design and implement pertinent actions. Commitment of the laboratory to its integrity through the signature of a statement by the top management. This analysis should be reviewed at the management review and, if necessary, revised. Confidentiality 4.2. The lab shall be responsible through legally enforceable commitments for the management of all information obtained during the performance of lab activities. The customer should be informed in writing if the laboratory intends to make publicly available any information about an assignment. The laboratory personnel, providers, external personnel, etc. should also sign a confidentiality declaration. Chapter 5. Structural Requirements. The requirements have been restructured. The most important changes are: the term quality manager is not mentioned, even though the functions are still included in the standard. The term technical manager is not mentioned, even though the functions are still included in the standard. It is no longer necessary to have deputies for key positions. The laboratory is obliged to write down the range of activities. The range of activities does not include those activities that have been permanently subcontracted. Following the new ISO 9001-2015 requires adequate communication processes regarding the effectiveness of the management system. Chapter 6. Resource Requirements. 6.2. Personnel. There are no substantial changes. The most prominent are the need to supervise before authorization and to monitor after authorization. The personnel has been taken up. The need to assess the efficiency of training has been erased. The need to document job descriptions has been erased. However, it is required to define competence requirements for each function, not only managerial functions, but all of those that have an impact on the results of the laboratory. The most frequently used supervision monitoring methods for personnel are measuring samples known, reference standards, inter-comparison samples, etc. Blind samples, intra-laboratory comparisons. Exams. For intellectual knowledge, it is recommended to record these activities. Facilities and environmental conditions. 6.3. There are no significant changes. When tests are performed in facilities outside its permanent control, the new standard requires that environmental and facilities-related requirements be met. Equipment 6.4. Standards, reference materials, reagents, and software are now also considered as equipment. Conditions to calibrate equipment are set. If accuracy or uncertainty affect the validity of results. If calibration is needed to establish metrological traceability. Reference to ISO 17034 has been included to emphasize the competence of RM producers. 6.5. Metrological traceability. Most of the notes have been erased, and a new informative annex on metrological traceability has been created. In Annex A, possibilities have been included on how to establish and demonstrate traceability through the use of a NMI, accredited calibration laboratory. Others. Whenever possible and cost efficient, it is easier for the laboratory to use accredited calibration laboratories or NMIs. However, if this is not possible, it is advisable to assess their competence based on ISO IEC 17025. 6.6. Externally provided products and services. This new item includes the previous concept of subcontracting, so purchasing and subcontracting are now compiled in one clause. The laboratory should have a system to select, assess, monitor, and reassess external providers. The laboratory shall ensure that all purchased products and services fulfill the requirements. The laboratory shall make the following clear to the provider: what is to be bought, acceptance criteria, personnel competence needed, and activities that the laboratory intends to perform in the provider's facilities. That's all for this first part. Thank you. And if you are working on the transition to the 2017 version of the ISO 17025 standard, do not forget to take a look at our documentation solutions and download the free checklist. The link is in the description below. Thank you.